Hey, welcome to All Things Trail Running. Today we are going to do a little education on shoe stats. So if you were like me when you first started running, you were always a little bit like thrown off when you go to the shoe store and people start talking about stack height and they start talking about drop and they start talking about the insoles and they're talking about just the shoe weight in general. Today we're going to kind of demystify some of those things and show you exactly what they are so you can sound like a pro next time you go to the running store. Hey guys, this is Tim from All Things Trail Running. It is a wonderful day in Colorado. It was snowed about 5 inches 2 days ago and was insanely cold last week. And now the sky's cleared. I went for a run this morning early, but the weather has really been nice. It's like 50 degrees out right now, maybe mid 40s, but pretty warm for Colorado. But I am super stoked today. It's new shoe day, right? How much do we love getting new shoes? I am replacing actually the same pair of shoes that I've been running in for the last year. I've got probably like 450 miles on them. Figured it's time for a new pair. This is the Mountain Racer from Topo Athletic. I really like this shoe, but that's not why we're here today to do a shoe review. I just kind of wanted to walk through. I started thinking about it and I'm like, you know, how confusing sometimes is it? Just all the different stats they throw at you in the shoe store or online about drop. You've probably heard that. You've heard stack height. You've talked about like the sole, the outsole, the grip, all those fun things. So thought it would be really fun to do an episode to kind of just explain what those various things are. So to do that, we are actually going to cut open my previous pair of shoes so we can look inside the shoe and we can talk about what those things are. What are we doing?
Cutting open some shoes.
Yeah, if you ever want to know what's in shoes, it's just padding and stiff stuff.
So there you know now you don't have to tracks. But if you want to see more stuff cut open like this, check out what's inside. They do a bunch of stuff like this. Except they've cut open...
Alright, so that was really fun. My son and the neighbor kids really enjoyed me sitting out there with the saw trying to hack through a pair of shoes. But anyway, for those that are interested, this is what the inside of a shoe looks like. So not super sexy, but there's a lot of stuff going on inside of this thing that makes them perform technically well. So the first thing that we're going to talk about today is a thing called drop. So there's been a big sort of movement towards what they call a more minimal lower drop shoe. So you're going to see things, everything from like a 13 mil drop, which is kind of your traditional running shoe, all the way down to 0 drop shoes. So what the heck is drop anyway? So all drop is, and it's really simple, is the amount of drop between the heel and the toe of the shoe. So if you think of like a high drop shoe, the heel of the shoe is higher, the toe is lower of the shoe. So they're usually measured in millimeters. This shoe is a 5 mil drop shoe. It means there's 5 millimeters of drop between the heel and the toe. So who really freaking cares, right? There's several reasons why lower drop shoes are popular, but there's also some reasons why you might not want to go to a 0 drop shoe if you are you know, just getting used to trail running. I actually don't run in a 0 drop shoe for a number of reasons. So anyways, I want to put it in perspective for you. So think about it this way. 1 millimeter drop is about the size of a dime, right? So you start stacking these on top of each other, and what you come up with this is a 13 millimeter drop shoe. So this means that there's about almost an inch of drop between the heel and the toe, which is all right, right? So we're kind of leaning forward as we run. But this, in essence, starts to really jack with your knees. And so a lot of people have knee problems. A lot of times it's because they have a higher drop shoe. Once you start kind of moving your foot into a more elevated position, your Achilles works a little bit less, right? So that Achilles and that calf muscle that's supposed to be doing a lot of the work doesn't have to drop that extra inch, which might sound good in theory. Maybe calf muscles aren't going to be quite as sore, but what does that do? It puts a lot more strain on your knee and your patellar tendon and all kinds of stuff that starts happening. You hear about runners having bad knees. Well, that might be where it starts. So what we start doing, there's been a couple of books. There's a book called Born to Run that everybody kind of knows about, like big ultra running book, Chris McDougall wrote. And their theory there is just to go to a zero drop, minimalist, go run barefoot approach, which I think is okay, you know, for some people. But here's the reality, guys. We are running on asphalt a lot of times. We're running on the roads. And I know the evolutionary theory behind you know, these like barefoot runners, and good on you if you are. Like, I'm not knocking it, but you know, like, that's when we were running on trails, right? All the time. It's before we were starting to run on concrete and really starting to bash ourselves up. But what you will find is if you go from a 13 millimeter, you have that extra inch, to a zero drop shoe, all of a sudden your Achilles and your calf muscle are doing a ton more work. And that's why they tell you to start off slow, because I guarantee you your calf muscles, if you go out and run like 3 or 4 miles and you haven't done it before in a zero drop shoe, you're going to be completely cooked. So if you're going to, and you desire to go to more of a natural running form, zero drop shoe, make sure you do it gradual. I prefer a 5 mil or a 3 mil drop shoe. So this is like nothing. You're not really going to feel that on the road. I feel like, you know, running ultra distances, it just keeps my calves and everything a little bit fresher. I also feel like the way that my foot hits the ground and my turnover, I like to have a little bit of drop in my shoe. So it's not a whole lot. Like I said, this is a 5 mil drop shoe. It looks, if you laid this on the table, it looks almost even all the way across the shoe. All right, guys, now we're going to talk stack. So stack is also measured in millimeters, but it's different than drop. So stack is the height of the sole of the shoe. So it's probably, once again, it's probably a lot easier to see on this. This shoe right here is a 30 millimeter stack in the back, and it is a 25 millimeter stack in the front. So do the math on that, right? 5 mil drop shoe. Stack is really nice to measure as you run longer distances. A lot of times people want a little bit higher stack to their shoe. It helps prevent some leg fatigue and some of those things that you're kind of working a little bit hard. Kind of also helps cushion your foot against rocks and elements and stuff like that that you might be hitting on the trail. So this is a, you know, 30 to 25 mil stack height shoe. I find this is a pretty fun shoe to run in. Because the stack is so high though, I start to kind of like lose a little bit of the feel of the trail. Like, I don't feel the rocks quite as much. I have another set of Topo shoes that I think is like closer to like a 22 millimeter stack across the shoe. Definitely I have a lot more ground feel of the trail, but for my longer distance stuff, I am always typically looking for something that is above 25. Hoka, you've seen the like giant stack shoes. I think they sell like a 35 mil stack. So that's all stack is just the amount of height that the sole has, like from here to here. Now we're going to talk actual construction of the shoe. So there is what they call the outsole of the shoe. There is also the midsole of the shoe, and there's the insole of the shoe. So all three of those are a little bit different. When you look at the outsole of the shoe, right? This is where your traction is going to come from. And you really want to look for something that is going to match the type of running you're doing. So I'm like in love with this tread on the shoe. This is the traction on the bottom. This is the outsole. This, to me anyway, this like climbs and rides really, really nice on the trail. But this is basically the outsole of the shoe. It is the rubber that is on, you can see that, the very, very bottom. And then you've got the midsole. Duh, right? It's like right in the middle. So midsole. Midsole is really interesting. This is a really responsive foam. It's not as cushioning in this particular shoe. So this shoe is made for racing. That Topo makes another shoe, Ultra shoe, that's got the same stack. It's got the same drop, but it has got a much more cushioned thing that they call zip foam for the midsole. So it's going to be a cushier ride. This one I really like because it just bounces right back. This material that's in here is super, super responsive. You want to pay attention to like what they're putting in here though, because it's going to affect the wear and tear of the shoe. It's also going to, like the softer foams tend to just break down a lot quicker. So you might only get 200 miles out of your shoes versus these ones I got like almost 500 out of this pair here that I just cut open. So anyway, that is the midsole. You might hear about a rock plate, right? You talk about the outsole of the shoe, midsole of the shoe, then you have the insoles of the shoes. Some shoes, like right here, like you would see it along this white edge right here, provide what they call a rock plate. Now all a rock plate is just a thick piece of plastic that goes in your shoe that keeps you from really getting those jagged rocks like right up into your foot. Really nice on some shoes, especially if you don't have quite as much stack height. Having a rock plate in there will help really protect your feet as you're on the trail. Some people are more sensitive than others. I really don't care about a rock plate, to be honest with you. I don't notice it that much. I feel like I'm light on my feet. But and then other people have actually taken this shoe and just gotten some thick plastic at the hardware store and just cut out something that goes right underneath their insole, and it works. So but rock plates are pretty nice. Sometimes some shoe companies will just put it sort of in the forefoot and just right kind of under the midfoot and forget about the heel because they figure you're just kind of going through it, but that's what a rock plate is. Okay guys, last but not least, this is the insole of the shoe. Kind of boring, right? This is where if you go to a shoe store and you're like, hey, I love these shoes, but there might be some sort of adjustment that needs to be made in the shoe. We're not going to go into like neutral support motion control type nomenclature. We'll do that in another episode. But this is what they call basically the insole of the shoe. So you can swap these out. It's really nice. Sometimes you have custom orthotics and things like that. You've probably heard of Superfeet. That would be an insole sort of adaptation to the shoe. So you can just pull them right out, put them right in. You know, it's a super simple thing to do. But anyway, that's all the insole is. Someone's like, hey, what kind of insoles there are? I never know what they are, but it's like the thing I don't really worry about that much, right? Like they have all these like ortholites and whatever. So that's what it is. A couple of other things that I think are really important in a shoe. So if you've been running for a while, you've probably heard of wide toe box versus narrow toe box. So this is just how the shoe kind of fits the front of your feet. So Topo Athletic is really known for what they call a wide toe box. And all that means is that there is more room up here for your toes in the front of the shoe to allow your feet to splay out. Personally, I think this is super, super important Some people don't care that much, but just think about it. Like, we were designed to walk and we were designed to run. When you land on your foot and you push off through your toes, you want that big toe to work. You want the entire foot to be able to flex. Like, it's like wearing gloves, right? Like, you're trying to work on stuff. Like, why would you jam your fingers up in something and try to like get stuff done? Just my opinion on it. It has been a game changer for me to go to a wide toe box. So I actually cut the toe box off on this thing. We're gonna put my foot in there and kind of show you exactly what we're talking about with the wide toe box and why I think it matters so much. So pay attention to the way your foot fits inside of a shoe. If it feels like it's cramming in there, go ahead and give a wide toe box a try. I want to say last but not least, we have what we call the upper of the shoe. So the upper of the shoe is just that. It's the way that this shoe comes up, wraps around the top of your feet. So you want to really pay attention to the upper and the fit of the shoe as you're in the shoe store trying these things on. It can make a huge difference in the way that your race day goes or in the way that your training runs goes. If it's too tight, it can lead to top of foot problems. If it's too loose, things can kind of move around. So one thing, back to the, I guess, the Topo commercial that I really like that a lot of shoe companies are doing is they actually sew the tongue of the shoe into the sides of the shoes, and then the lacing system and the way that things grab on top. Salomon has a really nice lacing system. There's some shoes that use the BOA system that just really, like, you know, kind of just glove your foot into the shoe. You know, these ones I don't think the lacing system is perfect on, but it is worth paying attention to, and there's usually a lot of different lacing options. But the upper of the shoe is just really like how the top of the shoe is constructed, how it's going to wear. And then, you know, what other features they threw in, like you'll see like back here, there's connection points for gaiters that you can put on to keep rocks out of your shoe and those sort of things. But okay, a couple of other things. You will notice on this shoe how they have this really nice like toe protection. So you can kind of see the reinforcement just there on the inside of the shoe. There's also quite a bit of rubber. It was really hard to cut through this thing on the toe part of the shoe coming around. And that's simply so you don't stub your toe and like completely, you know, blacken your nails while you're out running. You know, I always look for something that's got some good rigidity up front. Also keeps your shoes from like wearing out. Like a couple of other pairs of shoes I've had, I've like completely, my toes have like worn through the front, which is crazy to me. I've never had that problem with these particular shoes. The way that the heel locks in is super important too. So you can see right here on this shoe how they have a little bit of extra foam to cup the back of my heel. So what that does is really just lock my entire foot into the shoe, and so I'm not going to get a lot of slippage up front. They nailed it on this shoe. So I know I sound like I'm doing a freaking commercial for the shoe, but I'm like a huge fan, so whatever. You know, there's a lot of other good shoe companies, but these guys are the best. Yeah, so this is really the heel lock mechanism. It is awesome. But, you know, pay attention to the way that your heel feels, especially if you're going to a roomy or toe box. You want to make sure that you're not getting a whole lot of sliding in your heel, because that could just lead to some blisters and some poor performance issues. And then there's weight, right? How much does a shoe weigh? This shoe is about 10 ounces for a size 9. To kind of put it in perspective, some shoes are as light. I've seen shoes down to like 8 ounces, and then I've seen shoes up to like, you know, 16 ounces, which is like, you know, hiking boots or something like that. But weight does matter, even though it's weighed in ounces. The lighter weight, you know, you're pushing, the less momentum that you're going to have to carry, the more you know, more energy your legs are going to have. So you don't want to really be carrying a bunch of extra weight as you're running, especially longer distance. It's just going to pile up. So I really like looking for lightweight shoes. I got to be honest though, it has never impacted my purchase. I'm purchasing a lot more on fit and performance than I am on weight, but I do, you know, kind of like to pay attention to the stats. And So guys, there's a lot of other things that you can consider when you're buying shoes. I see posts all the time on all these like trail running forums I'm at. It's like, what kind of shoes should I buy? Shoes are going to just really be particular to you. What you love to run in, what's working for you, what works for other people don't work. It doesn't necessarily work for me. So that's part of the enjoyment. I mean, I got to be honest of just being able to get out there and try a bunch of different things. I'll usually wait for clearance sales and stuff like that at the local running shop and pick up a couple pairs that I just have never ran in before, just to try them out because it's kind of a low cost of entry. And I always like rotate through my shoes too, so I'm always like running in something a little bit different, which has been really nice. So definitely please subscribe, give the video a like. If you are, if you have questions or whatnot, or if there's like a particular shoe that just works really well for you, post in the comments. And we really appreciate you being part of the family and the community that we have here at All Things Trail Running. It's been a blast, like starting to just put together videos this year in 2021. So we're hoping it's going to be a long run, and we can provide some more input on certain things and help you all out. So hopefully that demystified some of the stats. And you can go into your next shoe purchase and sound like a pro while you're in there talking to the running people. So